I mean, I think the greater problem here is looking at the state of disrepair of religion in the United States of America, where you have, the Episcopal Church and you have the United Methodist Church who allow this type of, politics and partisanship to the extent that you have a woman bishop, a female bishop getting up there. And as you said, Sean, chastising the president of the United States when there was a mandate in this country that the people of this country want to move in a different direction. And so if you want to preach unity, you got to get on board with President Trump's agenda. But again, just to me, it's sickening to see the state of religion in this country, that we can be so divided that we have churches who are allowing this type of garbage, to be preached every Sunday. It's really frightening to me.
All right, guys, DEA, that's the Drug Enforcement Administration. I hope that's not done. DEI is done. But here's the kicker. Donald Trump making it very clear it's not welcome in his administration. But these deep staters, they're not dummies. They are not dummies. So what are they doing? The ATF, check this out. It's on the webpage. I'm going to talk to the panel about this in a minute. They just started to just change everyone's title. Instead of diversity, equity, and inclusion, you're a senior advisor for engagement. These guys are like, oh, no, we're not fired. We're just going to change our title. We'll talk about it in a minute, because it's not just one agency. These guys around the government, there must be like a memo. Like, here's how you get around this. And plus ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they are out there rolling up these bad guys over and over again. And these people, the criminals, they miss Biden. They're like the only ones who do. Like, they're literally saying how much they miss the guy. Anyway, tomorrow we have a great show. We'll just give you a little heads up on. We're going to take a deep dive on the border and a sort of a look at where the MAHA agenda, the Make America Healthy Again agenda is, where the nominees are, what we need to be doing, what we need to prioritize. So a great discussion of both the border, what Trump's been doing, what he's been getting results on. Before we get to that, though, real quick, you guys, I've told you this before. You have a first aid kit, you have a fire extinguisher, you have those things because you're smart. And you know that in the case of emergency, you want to be ready. Well, I went a step further. I have a life vac in my house. And in the event of a choking incident, I will be ready. One of these life vacs can make anybody a hero. I'm not kidding. Last week, I think it was Thursday, I got a call from the folks that advertised with us. And they said, you're not going to believe this, Sean. One of the folks on your show who bought a life vac has already saved a life. So I kind of take credit for it. That person is alive because of me. Well, not really, but you get what I'm saying. Seriously, police stations, fire, EMS, schools, everybody, restaurants are getting one of these life vacs because anybody can be a hero with them in the event of a choking incident. Get your very own life vac right now at lifevac.net, lifevac.net. Don't wait another minute. Someone's life literally could depend on it. All right, by the way, I missed it yesterday. I will have to make up for this, send a gift or a card or something. But happy 20th anniversary to President Trump and the First Lady. It was Donald Trump that put the word out there on social media. I apologize. I missed it, guys. I will make it up for you. All right, I mentioned tomorrow Tina Anderson's on. You do remember her. She's the one that has really been talking a lot about the wellness, the Make America Healthy agenda. I'm excited for her again because one of the cool things that she told me is when I first met her, I said, Tina, I'm trying to get healthier. I like wellness. I want to live longer. And I take this probiotic. And she said, Sean, what probiotic do you take? And I was like, why does it matter? And she's like, because it does. Most probiotics don't actually make it through your stomach to where they're supposed to. The ones from Just Thrive do. So if you are trying to get healthier, one of the keys to healthiness is a healthy gut. It has to do with everything like skin, mood, hair, sleep, you name it. It all stems from a healthy gut. And the stuff from Just Thrive, their probiotic, their Just Calm, is all clinically tested to be some of the most effective stuff on the market. It is backed by leading industry research. It's 100% money back guarantee. You'll love the way that you feel. It'll help you transform yourself and start 2025 off on the right foot. Visit justthrive.com. Use code SPICER for 20% off of your first day. By the way, if you like gummies, the Just Thrive probiotic gummy, oh my God, it's like candy. And I swear I asked Tina if it was just as good, and she said yes. So go to justthrivehealth.com, promo code SPICER for 20% off. All right, without further ado, I want to bring in our amazing panel to break down where we are this week so far. Sarah Gonzalez, who leads the amazing show Unfiltered on The Blaze. Her colleague on The Blaze, Liz Wheeler, the Liz Wheeler Show on The Blaze TV. And joining us, not from Philadelphia where he normally is, but now that he's a big shot nationwide radio star from Salem Radio Network, the host of the Chris Stegall Show. Chris Stegall from our nation's capital, who, by the way, didn't tell me he was here. It's okay. Larry O'Connor rarely ever says hi to me anymore. Either you radio guys, the ego.
You're such a big shot. You would never have made time for me even if I told you I was here. You know that.
But I would have come up with a creative excuse. I would have said, oh, let's get together. How's 2 a.m., Chris? You know,
right.
It's all about acting like it. All right, Chris, you're down here. I honest to God, I feel like NBC used to have that tagline, must see TV.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I walk away from my TV, I'm going to miss something that Donald Trump has done. An announcement, like you saw the investment in OpenAI, $500 billion, which, by the way, didn't even get a ton of attention because he's doing everything else in the world. So in the first, what are we at? So Monday, kind of a day, Tuesday, Wednesday. So here we are, day 3, technically day 4.
No.
What is the one thing that's jumped out at you and said, like, wow?
Can I just say, and I hate the overuse of the word because I know it's been used to death, but being here in D.C., and I'm not here often, the vibe, capital V-I-B-E, vibe. Everywhere I go in this city, every Uber I get into the back of, driven almost exclusively by people who are not native to the country, have come from somewhere else but are legal citizens. Sean, probably, this is anecdotal, but no less than a dozen people that I've spoken to from various nations who are all immigrants to this country legally have all enthusiastically wanted to talk about Trump and this inauguration. I haven't met, and I'm not joking, like I'd tell you if this weren't true, but everyone I encounter, and I'm talking about working class people, there's this vibe, this mood, there's this happiness, this ebullience, normalcy, decency, law abiding is back, and people are very happy around here.
So this may not make sense. I'll try to explain it though. But you mentioned an Uber Sunday night. I'm in an Uber. The guy pulls up. It's a Prius, I think it was, an electric car. The guy's got NPR on the radio. And he tells me that he's been on the road for a while. He lives in Bethesda, Maryland. So I have a hat on because it was freezing cold. I bought one on the street. And I just start pulling the hat down. I'm like, please don't recognize me. Please don't recognize me, right? Okay, it gets better, though. So he says to me, so Monday would be Inauguration Day. He said, how long does it take the vice president to move out of her house? And I said, well, I don't know, but like it will happen tomorrow. Like it's just, there's no you don't get extra days. She's done tomorrow and they move her out. He goes, good, because if she needs any help, I'll drive over there to get rid of her. And I was like, what? I'm pretty good at reading people over the last 7 years. When I walk into an event, I'm always like, okay, hater, friend, hater, friend. I did not see this.
I can't find them. I can't find protesters. I normally the city is teeming with hate for Republicans and guys like Trump, but I don't know where everybody is or if they've just succumbed to the vibe and the victory of 77 million people.
So Sarah Gonzalez, we got the vibe, but from an action standpoint, what is the thing that you're like, I am so excited this is getting done?
So it's really difficult for me because, we could go through the long list of promises made, promises kept. It's just so much to go through. I wanted to go with DEI because of all of the work that I do with all of, stopping the trans agenda, stop indoctrinating children with Texas Family Project here down in Texas. But I just feel like for the country's safety and security, I gotta go with designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. That is gonna do so much to keep our country safe, to keep our borders safe. The idea of U.S. Special Forces going out and pursuing the cartels, which is something that should have happened a long time ago. I feel really, I don't wanna say excited about, but it's about damn time, right? So if I had to pick one, gun to my head, that's the one that I'm going to pick, just because I think that the ramifications are going to be so far reaching.
All right, Liz Wheeler, no gun to your head.
Sarah's going to be less likely to have a gun to her head now that we're going to have mass immigration raids and now that these cartels have been designated as terror organizations. For me, I think the January 6th pardons signaled to the country that Trump is not messing around. He's not naive. He knows that there's no virtue in compromising with evil, which is, I think, something that a lot of politicians have fallen for in the past. And the fact that he dispensed with the immediate reaction from even some rhino Republicans, they were clutching their pearls saying there was no designation between those who committed nonviolent offenses and those who committed violent offenses. They all got pardons and commutations. The fact that President Trump understands that what these people did is immaterial anymore. Not that any of us sitting here are going to endorse any kind of violence or vandalism at the Capitol, but the fact that these prosecutions and these trials, the charges, the judges were so tainted with political bias, it rendered the entire process illegitimate. And the only way to restore justice in our country is to completely pardon. I mean, I actually encourage President Trump, go ahead and extend a full pardon to those 14 whose sentences you commuted, because if we accept an unjust process, we are giving it legitimacy, and President Trump's having none of that, and I love to see it.
So, you know what I thought, not that anyone's asking, is I love these roundups of criminals that we're seeing. And the reason I love them is, one, because they're actually happening, right? So it's like, get rid of criminals. It's to Sarah's point, like he promised he would do it and he's doing it. So that, but I think the reason that I really like it is that all the Democrats for the last 4 years have been like, we all agree that criminals should be gone after. And what President Trump has proven in the past 48, 72 hours is that they didn't, because they could have. Joe Biden and the Democrats could have said, we agree, criminals should not be in this country. They chose not to. They chose to allow these people to be free in our country. And so when they were like, well, it's not like we disagree with you on that, we're exposing the hypocrisy right now, because every time they roll up one of these folks, every time that they put out the statistics that show that fewer people are coming over the border in certain areas, it's proof positive that the president did have the power to do things and get results, and that all of the lip service that Joe Biden and the Democrats gave us was just that.
It's also true, by the way, if you look at the Lake and Riley Act, right? So to your point, Trump is proving that Joe Biden and that administration were liars, which we knew, but it's always nice to have proof positive of that. But he's proving that sitting politicians in Congress don't want to deport criminal aliens by pushing. Sean, you and I have talked about this for years, actually, how Congress should be forced to vote on every single thing so that their constituents know where they stand on every single issue, versus what they do now is they try to avoid getting themselves on record so that they can avoid accountability to people who might not like them when they take a stance. Trump, in the first 72 hours, forced Congress, and Democrats specifically in Congress, to be like, hey, actually, we want the murderers to stay here. We think they're cool.
Yeah. And Sarah's point, Sean, is exactly right. Even Trump's speech, here he is, his inaugural speech. And there's Kamala Harris and Joe Biden sitting on their hands when he talks about, let's lock the border down and get rid of the murderers. And they can't applaud that. Not to mention the pardons. Democrats have been squirming all week trying to explain away Joe Biden pardoning his family on the way out the door, which has also been hysterical.
So one of the things first of all, we can talk about this if you guys want. The media accessibility to me has been awesome. The idea that you are hearing and seeing from your president like every day. And it makes Caroline Leavitt's job a lot cooler, because she can say the president just said. He's so accessible. He's out there. But the thing that was interesting to me, or at least one of the takeaways in the Hannity interview last night, let me play it for you guys. I'll say it because I don't want to. He talks about how Mike Pompeo and others stopped him from releasing the CIA files on JFK, et cetera, Martin Luther King Jr., and he pledges to do so. I'm telling you, I'm actually really interested to see, because I'm telling you, Sarah Gonzalez, I have a feeling that the CIA doesn't look too good in these things.
Of course they don't. Of course they don't. And anyone who has paid attention to, all of the JFK information that is actually out there would have reason to suspect that the CIA is not going to come out looking good. And that's why they're keeping this a secret. But I mean, to your point, Sean, Donald Trump trusted the wrong people, aside from you, who obviously he should have trusted all along. But he came to Washington. I mean, you tell me, he came to Washington not knowing anybody, not knowing how anything was done. You know, he didn't have any friends there. He trusted the wrong people, and they gave him guidance that obviously when he's looking back, he should not have taken. But he's coming with this renewed perspective of not only having done 4 years already and knowing the process and, you know, the minutia, but also reflecting on just how deep the deep state gets in the last 4 years, 91 indictments, 34 felony counts. I mean, he has seen it happen to him. He has seen all of these agencies weaponized against him, against his friends, against some of his, you know, appointees that he nominated. And so I think that he's walking into this with clear eyes, ready to give the American people the transparency that they have been so, you know, craving. And I think that even can go to your point about the media accessibility. Donald Trump sees that the American people are ready for full transparency. They want a president with accountability. We have not had that for 4 freaking years, and look how bad it's gotten. And so I think that he sees that, and he is ready to act upon it now that he has had time to reflect, and he has had time to learn the process and learn who to trust and who not to trust.
You know, it is just watching it all. Like, I keep wondering, how is this guy going to keep this pace up? It's like very similar to my first few days with him. Like, you're like, I'm exhausted. It's 2:30 in the afternoon, and this guy's not going. The thing that I've told everyone who's watched the show, they know President Biden dismissed me from the board of the U.S. Naval Academy. We sued him. The case Spicer v. Biden. I wrote a piece about this the other day. I've been very open about the fact that President Trump should fire all the Biden nominees. And yesterday, in epic fashion, he puts out a list on his Truth Social that basically says, my first day is not over. My presidential personnel office is actively in the process of identifying and removing over 1,000 presidential appointees from the previous administration who are not aligned with our vision. Frankly, I doubt any of them are. Let this serve as official notice of dismissal for these 4 individuals, with many more coming. Jose Andres from the President's Council on Sports Fitness and Nutrition, Mark Milley from the National Infrastructure Advisory Council, Brian Hook from the Wilson Center for Scholars, Keisha Lance Bottoms, a former mayor of Atlanta, from the President's Export Council. You're fired. And I was just like, Chris Stegall, I was like, dude, this is like, it's just so refreshing to not, like, you know, Sarah Gonzalez just said it. And I think to further on what she said, it was like, he doesn't care about the norms and the traditions. He's like, and that's what happened last time, is people said, Mr. President, you can't possibly do that. It's never been done this way. This is how it always goes. Yep. And this time he's like, you know what? We're doing it.
And he's playing with house money. He's got the wind at his back. He doesn't even have to raise his voice. I've never seen a guy so quick with a pen. Quite literally, he'll just kind of narrate. He'll fend off Peter Alexander from NBC News while he's signing executive orders. It's like watching somebody conducting a symphony. He's never been more at ease. He's never been more calm and cool. At ease.
That's a great. That's it. I was trying to put my finger on something, and you just nailed it, Chris Stegall. He's at ease.
Yes. He has nothing to prove.
Wouldn't you be, though, if you knew? I mean, as he said, God saved me so I can do this, Amen. Right? And I do think that he fully believes that. And I think that it's true, by the way. So, I mean, wouldn't you be just so at ease and at peace with the agenda that you know that you have to deliver when you know God just saved me from death?
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
I don't think enough people fully appreciate. And I obviously, I don't think I can. I don't know if you guys, but what an experience like that does to your psyche, where you realize I have a mission, I have X amount of days left on this earth, and I'm going to use them in the most effective way. It makes you think about life in a whole new way. I gotta believe.
And all the reports of those who've talked to him have said that it's very clear that he's a changed man. Yeah. And I think if you look at the way that he's handling the media, Sean, I'm sure you noticed this earlier in the week, but I thought this was fascinating. In 2016, when the media would go after him, calling him like Hitler or a Nazi or a xenophobe or whatever their word choice of the day was, it would trigger him a little bit. He'd get emotionally rattled by it because these were his friends, right? The New York Society, Hollywood, all these rich people around the world. He's like, what are you doing? We've been friends for 30 years. And so he would kind of go eye to eye and battle with them. And we found that entertaining. But He was treating them as peers. No longer is he treating them as peers. Now, Chris used the word calm. I would use the word resolute. He is in command and resolute, and they're just like mosquitoes at his ankles. He's not fighting with equals anymore. They don't matter. You brush them away. No one's falling for that anymore.
And Liz, to your point, what that also creates is all of the power vacuum has come back to him, and now all of those people that were combative with him now want to bow before him, kiss the ring, and be in his inner circle. He's a magnet now again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I watched it the other day with some of these interactions. Even after I want to get to this woke bishop thing again because it's getting more heated. But he didn't. When the press engaged with him, Liz, he was just like, "What did you think?" Like he didn't take the bait, and it's I'll say it again. I'm jealous. I am just damn. I wish I this was, but you can't be where we are today without going through the first barrel the way that we did, and so. Sarah Gonzalez, I want to talk to you about you've been a leader in the whole DEI trans issue, and I want to get that. Before I do that, though, guys, I've told you this before. I want to just show you what I'm talking about. Last year when I started 2024, I've always had trouble falling asleep, staying asleep. I started adding Beam's Dream Powder into my nightly routine. I take a scoop of this, put it in some water, stir it around, put it in a coffee cup and into the microwave for 30, it depends how cold it is, to be honest with you. Put it in for 30, 45 seconds, take it out. It's amazing. I honestly would drink this all day. It tastes that good, but it would put you to sleep. It's got all the natural stuff that you probably have tried in the past. Like I've taken melatonin, reishi, apigen, magnesium, all of that's in there with an amazing taste. Like I've already crushed, where's the bag? Somewhere over here. I crushed the cinnamon one. It was awesome. That's the brownie one. There's a peppermint one. I mean, you pick how awesome you want the flavor to be, but trust me. And right now, you guys, we can get a special listener discount on Beam's Dream Powder, this science-backed thing that professionals and athletes take. So go to Beam's best-selling Dream Powder by going shopbeam.com/Spicer. Use code Spicer. You get 40% off. 40% off. Who gives you 40% off and it's not Black Friday? I mean, so you're getting the best deal going and you'll have an amazing night's sleep. Trust me on that. Shopbeam.com/Spicer. Use code Spicer. All right. I want to get back to this Sarah Gonzalez. This DEI thing, I was so excited when it went down. I'm sure you were too. But watching the ATF, they literally started to change the titles on the website, which I was like, dummies. Why would you put it on the website? Just take the person off. Like, it's like you don't have, like, we have eyes and the internet. We're not that stupid. And the thing that's weird is CBP is doing it too. They're just renaming these titles. They're like, okay, you're no longer DEI person or chief diversity officer. You're senior engagement person. So my question to you, Sarah Gonzalez, is will the deep state bureaucracy folks get away with this? Or have they thought this through in the Trump team well enough that they're like, Sarah Gonzalez, you can't change your title on a website and not think that we won't know?
Well, Sean, they haven't thought it through because they don't have two brain cells to rub together. My message to them would be you can run, but you can't hide because, as I said, Donald Trump is coming in here with clear eyes. He has the right people around him. He has been preparing for this moment for years now, and they're going to root these people out and destroy them. He has seen, the devastating consequences of DEI. That's what I say all the time. DEI kills. At the root cause, I mean, that's it. That's all that there is to it. If it is the trans agenda, which is, young people are more predisposed to depression and suicidal ideations, whether it is the fact that we are putting people who are making us less safe in our military because we're prioritizing, wokeness rather than who is the strongest person, who is the person who can go out there and be a killing machine. DEI kills. And Donald Trump has seen that. I have to believe he has the right people around him who are going to root these people out. You saw it in the Truth Social post that you just mentioned, Sean. He's already like, yeah, I've got like 1,000 people that we're looking at, and you guys are all on the chopping block. I don't think that these people are prepared for the Trump administration rooting them out. I don't think that they're smart enough. I think that they've overplayed their hand, and I think they're going to be gone.
Liz, I read this story in one of the newspapers where like the bureaucrats are like plotting. I mean, they're literally like, hey, if you're a DEI person, take your files and put them on local drives or send them to so that they can't come in and erase them. So 40 years from now, it's like burying a treasure in your backyard or something. Like these guys are thinking this through. They're like, take the files, put them in these certain places so that, because if they're on like the common drive, then the politicals can come in and delete them and really undo all of their hard work. But I get the sense, and this gets back to what Sarah said a couple times, like, I am a believer that this time out of office is probably the most, every time they come after Trump, there's an unintended greater consequence. They went after him with lawfare. They tried to take him off the ballot. Boom, boom, boom. They help him politically. The 4 years out of office has allowed his team, the Stephen Millers, the AFPI guys, the guys at Heritage, whatever, to go through the systems and say, aha, we're going to pull the weed out right from the ground. We know exactly who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah used the correct word when she said preparation. This is not a Donald Trump administration coming into office and then saying, now that we're here, we're going to look around and see who's abusing their power. Trump actually proved this, by the way, on Truth Social when he fired the commandant of the Coast Guard. I wasn't even familiar with this woman, but he had an entire dossier on this chick saying, this is what you did. This is what you did wrong. This is why you're fired. And it was extensive. They have that kind of background on everybody that they're going to fire. And listen, you can think of it like you can think of those resistance deep state swamp creatures, like a desert island. You go and you bury your hidden treasure. You get this pirate chest up, but instead of gold coins, they're just trying to bury garbage. The reason that conservatives don't have to worry that a God forbid, leftist president that comes sometime after Trump would just reverse these executive orders is because Trump is not just ending the policy that with the swipe of a pen that could be reinstated with the swipe of a pen. He's dismantling the infrastructure that actually carries out that policy. And that is not as easy to rebuild as these blue-haired freaks buried in Washington, D.C. think it is.
And can I bring up an unpopular term that was used a lot in the campaign? And I know Trump distanced himself from it, but that's what Project 2025 was all about. That's what it was. Conservatives have never been good at putting together blueprints for surgical strikes like this until Trump and the team around him that you just mentioned, Sean. They had a plan of action, offensive strategy. Republicans, to my knowledge, since I've been paying attention to politics, never do that. They come in and they kind of look around and they get clubbed over the head before they know what happened. This time it was surgical. They knew where they were going and they had a plan. And that's why Project 2025 was never something anybody should have run from. Democrats have long done this. They look down the field. They have a long game. We've always kind of sucked at it, and we don't anymore.
I'm with you. Why we're like, hey, we're thinking ahead. None of it. I mean, it's always going to be President Trump's decision what to do. Why not just say, yeah, a lot of people are doing a lot of great thinking. Who cares? Everybody does this.
Exactly. And
he doesn't. And if anyone who knows Trump knows that you can give him an idea. He may accept it. He may reject it. He may tweak it. But it's not until he executes on it. It's not. I mean, anyway, I agree with you. Strategically, we blew that thing. I do want to pivot, if I can, to this Episcopal woke bishop that was at the National Cathedral. Now, we talked about it yesterday. She made this thing. Again, this goes back to like how Liz described the interaction with the press. I would have gotten up and walked out. I would just wanted like, bye-bye. And so she goes on The View. And by the way, it wasn't just The View. She was like, part of me does wonder if this was like a whole setup from the beginning. But Sarah, she goes on The View, of course, because that's where you go to get applauded. And this is what she had to say.
So let me ask you this. You seem to have more fearlessness than anyone in Congress right now, ma'am. What made you decide to use that opportunity for this message, or didn't you have any apprehension about it?
My response, thank you, first of all, for allowing me to be with you today. My responsibility that morning, yesterday morning, was to reflect, to pray with the nation for unity.
Pray to the nation for unity. And then I'm going to slap you in the face. How is that? I don't that. Where did you go to school that you think chastising somebody, gaslighting them on both the LGBTQ people that apparently are all scared, all of them are scared, even though President Trump just appointed the first gay Treasury Secretary in history, who talks about, and he appointed the last cabinet member with Cornell. I mean, leave that aside. Then she talks about how immigrants aren't all criminals, something that no one's ever said. It's just criminals who are illegal aren't entitled to be here. But that's neither here nor there. How is any of that unifying?
Well, I mean, obviously it's not, but I would also say, Sean, that the idea that trans people are somehow scared is only because the fear mongering that is done on the left, trying to accuse Republicans of all sorts of things that they've never said that they were going to do. These people, right. I mean, you look at these women who are so scared that they're having a miscarriage, and they're scared because of the abortion law in their state. Well, why are they scared about that? Because the left is intentionally confusing them, and they don't know that they can get care. They are able to access care. So the fear mongering, obviously, the reason that these people are scared is simply because of the left's lies. But I mean, I think the greater problem here is looking at the state of disrepair of religion in the United States of America, where you have, the Episcopal Church and you have the United Methodist Church, who allow this type of, politics and partisanship to the extent that you have a woman bishop, a female bishop, getting up there and, as you said, Sean, chastising the president of the United States when there was a mandate in this country that the people of this country want to move in a different direction. And so if you want to preach unity, you got to get on board with President Trump's agenda. But again, just to me, it's sickening to see the state of religion in this country, that we can be so divided that we have churches who are allowing this type of garbage, to be preached every Sunday. It's really frightening to me.
Well, yeah. I'll say this, the bishop, we know from Scripture, she should be frightened, because we know that people that preach like that from a pulpit will be judged doubly. To talk and tout transgenderism, I tell you, transgender folks, particularly men pretending to be women who want to invade our women's spaces and our girls' spaces, I hope they're afraid. I hope they're very afraid. I hope every grown man.
What about the women that are afraid that a dude's coming into their locker room? How about them? Are they?
No, that's afraid? Exactly why. Men pretending to be women and invading our women and girls' spaces, I hope they're terrified of what's coming from men, from government, and ultimately their souls, as far as I'm concerned. This bishop has no standing theologically, politically. She's a stone cold loser and a leftist, of course. Her son's a big Soros giver. They're activist Obama acolytes. She, when St. Paul's Episcopal Church burned, she's the bishop of the Episcopal Church in D.C. And she said, well, we got to understand why the people are upset. That's just a church. Yeah, just a church. Some bishop, please.
Sean, did you ever hear a joke that you wished of all the things that you've ever come up with that you had come up with it, even though someone else wrote it first?
Probably.
Yesterday on X, Eric Erickson tweeted a joke about this woman, and I thought, oh my gosh, if I could trade my entire book to have written this joke. He said, the most surprising thing about this entire debacle is that this Episcopal bishop is actually married to a man. He goes, yep. That's not very Episcopalian of her.
Well, the thing that upset me is that she presides over the National Cathedral, which is Episcopal, but it's used in a very it's not non-denominational, but I mean, my point is, we have Jimmy Carter's funeral there. When someone important dies, they have their funeral there, and the nation grieves. And she politicized something that we always get accused of. So anyway, I thought the whole thing was inappropriate. I thought President Trump and his family and J.D. Vance and Mrs. Vance this goes back to what Liz said about how he's interacting with the press corps. The old Trump might have lashed out a lot more. This one, by the way, he does want an apology, and I think rightly so. But since we did touch on the issue of gender and gay and lesbian and transgender, we all know President Trump also said that in his speech that the issue now is settled. The country recognizes two genders, but it went further from there. There is a gentleman, the conservative leader in Canada, got asked about this. He is running for prime minister. I want to play you a clip of an interview that just shows you how he handled this up there to our north.
First day on the job, President Trump signed an executive order, the U.S. government only recognizing two genders, male, female. They're unchangeable. If elected as prime minister, is that something that you're going to kind of walk in line with, or what are your feelings on that executive order?
Well, I don't know. Do you have any other genders that you'd like to name?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm just asking more so if you're in line with what he is saying? Do you agree with what he's saying? Is that something that you would be lockstep with if elected as prime minister?
Well, I'm not aware of any other genders than men and women. I mean,
I love it. You remember he is the guy. If you remember that viral video where he's eating an apple and the reporter says, "Many people say," and he goes, "Which people?" And he goes, "Well, no, which people?" And anyway, I hope he does become prime minister. Because
I hope it's mandated that he has an apple at every single press conference for his entire tenure.
Like, he is so cool and calm and collective. And I mean, I love that. I'm only aware of 2. But then he retorts, "Are you aware of others?" And the reporter says, by the way, he goes on in the clip to say, "Well, I'm a cis male, but many people say that there are more." And he goes, "Well, which ones are there?" And he just he's so deftly takes these questions and just throws them back, which is what I loved about it, because it wasn't, it was all right. I want to touch one more thing because it continues to irk me. This attempt by the Democrats, Sarah Gonzalez, to act like Elon Musk gave a gesture that is a Nazi salute, which now on the internet, there's 80 million, Democrats, Barack Obama and others, who've made the same hand gesture. But Chris Murphy was asking Elise Stefanik about this in her hearing yesterday to be UN ambassador. Take a look.
What do you think of Elon Musk, perhaps the president's most visible advisor, doing 2 Heil Hitler salutes last night at the president's televised rally?
No, Elon Musk did not do those salutes. I was not at the rally, but I can tell you I've been at many rallies with Elon Musk, who loves to cheer when President Trump says we need to send our U.S. space program to Mars. Elon Musk is a visionary. I'm looking forward to his work in Doge.
I mean, Sarah Gonzalez, this is getting insane. It's been debunked. The leftist at the American Defamation League, who get outraged about everything, didn't get outraged about this. And Chris Murphy is reading to the potential UN ambassador about something, a hand gesture that Elon Musk did in a fit of excitement.
Yeah, well, that's because this is how desperate they are to find anything to grab onto with this new Trump administration, with the mandate that the American people gave. They don't have anything, Sean. They have nothing left. They have to go to Elon Musk, clearly saying, "My heart goes out to you," and clutching where his heart is and releasing it into the crowd. And they have to try to turn that into, a big, Nazi thing. That's all that they have. That's what you're going to hear for the next 4 years. The same old rhetoric. Everyone around Donald Trump is a Nazi. Everyone around Donald Trump was a white supremacist. Though, there were very fine people on both sides. You're going to hear more of that. The difference is the American people have seen right through it, and they know better. It was clear in the election results that the American people are tired of this rhetoric. But what do we see the left do every single time? And they double down on everything, even when it's not working. So I would highly encourage them to keep it up, because even to your point, you have even the ADL who's like, "Yeah, guys, that's a stretch. You probably should."
They're like, "Slow your roll, bro."
Yeah. Well, so if you guys want to get
Sarah's
that crazy,
right.
keep it up.
Rasmussen just came out with a poll that has 50% of likely black voters totally digging on Trump. Racism doesn't work anymore. Racist. They've abandoned that. Now it's Nazi. Sarah's right, though. It isn't going to work. Keep it up. Shout all you want. It's not working. Nobody's buying it.
All right. Before we get into winners and losers, I want to ask your opinion in case Mark Thompson from CNN, he's the CEO. I have it on good authority. He watches this show every night.
Oh.
They are going to be making hundreds of cuts at CNN, because their ratings are way down. The business model is horrible, and they didn't get the memo that Donald Trump won. If you could fire one person from CNN, Liz Wheeler, who are you firing?
Jake Tapper, no question.
No question. Chris DeGaulle.
No question.
He just cost them a lot of money. I mean, the attorney for CNN just had to admit, we may not be able to pay the bill here for the defamation.
$5 million because Jake Tapper defamed a Navy veteran.
He just blew a hole in their boat financially, and if they had any credibility left. So I agree with Liz. Jake Tapper.
He's also one of the swampiest types because he portrays himself as being an objective reporter, and yet he's not. He's a liar, and he's a biased leftist. And I am less upset with people who are just like, yeah, I'm a leftist and here's my viewpoint. I'm making my argument for my viewpoint.
Right.
Even if I personally think it's stupid, at least they're being like honest about their bias. But when you pretend that you are reporting something factually and objectively, and then you're not, you got to go.
Well, just so people understand, at least maybe give a little context. Aside from being the former spokesman for Hooters, Jake had also served as the press secretary for Chelsea Clinton's mother-in-law when she was a member of Congress from Pennsylvania. So, I mean, the pretending that I'm not a Democratic operative. Sarah Gonzalez, we have 2 votes for Jake Tapper. Who are you voting to send off the island?
I'm actually going to agree. We're all in alignment. There's just something particularly egregious about pretending that you are, unbiased when you obviously are. And it's gotten worse over the years. Every single year it gets worse. I do remember a time where I did feel like he was unbiased, and then he just totally jumped the shark. So we're all in agreement. Jake's gone.
You know who's owning who he is on CNN and should get a promotion? Maybe they should give him a show. Scott Jennings. He's the only one that's being honest about who he is, and he's winning.
That's great.
Ryan Gradusky. They should give Ryan Gradusky a show.
See, guys, you make a compelling case. I was coming into this full on Jim Acosta. I think it's personal.
Yeah.
So anyway, flip a coin there, Mark Thompson. You figure out which one you want. You can have them all. All right, we end Thursdays going to winners and losers. Sarah Gonzalez, I want you to lead us off here. Who do you think has had a good week and who's had a bad week?
I'm going to say white males. White males are back. DEI is dead. White males don't have to worry about getting, racially profiled now when they go try to join the U.S. military or, any job, actually. So I'm going to go with white males are the winners this time around.
And who's your loser?
My loser is Barack Obama, who has just seen so
That's
much.
what I was going to say.
Yeah, so much of his third term right now under Joe Biden. Just all of the work of his radical agenda that he has put in, just completely decimated with several strokes of a pen.
Interesting. Chris DeGaulle?
I'm going to go playoff football winner, Andy Reid, coach of your Kansas City Chiefs. 300 victories. He now is on the Mount Rushmore of coaches, only the 4th coach to win 300 games, and he's in the playoffs again. Go Chiefs.
Are you kidding? Go cheat? Aren't you? Don't you by law have to vote for the Eagles or root for the Eagles?
No. I've never lied about my allegiance. I am a Chiefs fan, always have been. Andy Reid also coached for the Eagles, as you know, winning as coach there too. So Andy Reid's my winner this week.
How about this? I'm going to vote for anybody that's not one of those 2 teams. Like,
wow.
I know
You're from Rhode Island. What do you have to cheer for?
The Patriots. We had a little bit of an off year. It's coming back. Look, dude, trust me, Matt Vrabel, head coach. I mean, they're putting I'm telling you.
Didn't they just fire their DEI coach too? So that's a win for you, John.
Oh, good. There you go. All right. Wait. So who's your loser?
That bishop that we were just talking about. I mean, thankfully, the word of God stands supreme. The word will be fine. She may not be, though.
Ooh, chilling.
Liz Wheeler, who had a good week?
The J6 defendants, and therefore all of us who want to raise our voices against corruption. I think that undoubtedly is the biggest winner of the week. And my loser is Biden. Not even because he's like being walked off into the sunset, but because he didn't pardon himself.
This guy went around giving everybody pardons. And the funny thing, maybe the sad thing, is he didn't give himself a pardon. And if you look at it, it all had to do with him.
And we've just gotten word that he himself directly to his name, not just his family who he pardoned, but he himself received $240,000 from overseas people that's unaccounted for. This is while he was vice president. So
can I ask you a question? If you could, President Trump called you and he said, Liz, Biden didn't pardon himself or learning more, but he's not doing well. Should I investigate him? Should I go after him? What does Liz Wheeler tell President Trump?
Of course. I actually think that the biggest mistake Trump made during his first term, aside from the COVID stuff and the Fauci stuff, was not following through and putting Hillary Clinton in jail. When you don't actually hold people accountable, it's not about revenge. It's not about vengeance. It's about deterrence. If there's not justice, then it empowers and emboldens these people to commit crimes again. And so we have serious crimes that were committed around January 6th, around COVID, around many different things, around the Biden family criminal cartel. These people, if we just let it go because they are out of power, then they're just going to regroup and they're going to do it again. We have plenty of information. It's all out there. Go get them.
Hopefully,
I do hope that
Yeah.
Jim Jordan keeps going in the House. That is one thing I will agree with. Like I don't want Jim Jordan, and I know that he's not. All right, so the winner I'm going to go with the loser. And the loser is DEI. I think we can all agree. Like it just like the idea that we are snuffing this thing out is so good because it went so far, and it was such like the idea. I said this earlier in the week. The idea that I'm sending tax dollars to Washington so they can hire someone to be included. I mean, it's like, do your job. But like if you're the Department of Defense, protect us, make weapons. But I don't need more people sitting around figuring out how to be inclusive. I want a meritocracy. I want the best people to do the job that our tax dollars are paying for and nothing more. The winner, I was initially going to go with this, what do they call it? Starlink? Starlink, is that the project? This $500 billion invested in the United States. I mean, again, I cannot believe that we're going so quick these days that doesn't, I mean, the idea that investment is happening. And by the way, the quote that I thought was so interesting is Masa-san came. You remember he had that press conference at Mar-a-Lago. He says, I'm going to invest $100 billion in the U.S. And Trump, instead of just what normal people would do, say, thank you very much, that's amazing. He says, can you make it 200? Which I was like, dude, you don't, I mean, that's like saying someone walks over and says, hey, I'd like to give you some fresh cookies. And going, could you make 2 more dozen? Like, no one does that. And then Masa-san comes back yesterday at the presser and he said, Mr. President, you told me to go back and find another $100 billion. Well, I'm coming back with $500 billion. I'm like, anyway, but I chose common sense is the winner for me because President Trump brought it up in his inaugural address. And to me, that's what is winning right now is common sense throughout the government. Protect us, get rid of stupid things. Just do things that make sense. That's kind of where I came down on everything. Anyway, guys, thank you for an amazing Thursday. As I mentioned, everyone, tomorrow, a real deep dive on the border. What's happening? We've got an unbelievable expert who can break down what's happening, what else we can be doing. I'm going to ask about birthright citizenship, whether or not we can actually repeal that, the legal status of it. But if you really want to understand what's going on at the border, make sure you tune in tomorrow night. Plus, we're going to get a Maha update on the nominees, the big issues, what our priorities should be. A great show headed your way. And then all next week, continuing to break down these first few days of the Trump administration. Remember, you can always keep up with me by signing up for SeanSpicer.com. It's free unless you want to be a VIP member, which I like. So go to SeanSpicer.com, get our twice weekly newsletter, Tuesdays and Fridays. We will see you back here tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.